In this section of the videos, we're going to talk about the tree lighting. And the reason why the tree lighting is important, I think, is because without the tree lighting, there's this real dark edge around the perimeter of the street that looks kind of foreboding. And so the tree lighting helps to give it a little bit of texture, a little shape, so you can see the perimeter of the street. It also will light the train up as well as it goes around. So it's a nice addition, and let's get started. All right, the first step in the process for the tree lighting is going to be to take a bunch of these LEDs. I bought about 50 LEDs from DigiKey with this part number. And these are a 45-degree throw, which means that they're going to throw light out the top at about a 45-degree angle, or something like that. And that's going to be good for the LEDs that are a little bit further back from the trees, because we're trying to keep the light contained to the trees and not spill out all over the place. So these are good LED to use. Now, these aren't going to be very good when you're right up next to the trees, and for that you need to have more of a 90 degree or 100 degree or even wider throw. Now, I haven't been able to find a decent LED that does that directly from a supplier. So what I'm going to do is just take the 45-degree LED with its focused dome, and I'm just going to cut that dome off with my grinder here, and just sand it off flat. And so when you do that, the light's going to just diffuse out at about 100 degrees, very wide angle. So we're going to use these ground off LEDs for very close to trees, and the 45-degree LEDs are a little further back. So I'm going to take about 25 of these domed LEDs, and I'm going to cut their top off. And that's really easily done. And just grind the top off. Yeah, it doesn't have to be exactly flat. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be off. In fact, you even notice this one's a little slanted. I'll do better than that on the subsequent ones. Now you'll also notice that the top, when you grind it, is a little bit hazy, and that's going to interfere with the light. And later I'll show you how to make that clear. It's really easy, and that'll make it clear, and then we'll be perfect. So now I just repeat this process 24 more times, and we're good for the next step. Okay, now that we've finished grinding off the lenses on our 90-degree LEDs, now it's time to start attaching wires. Now I've cut a bunch of 40 of these red wires to about a foot long. It's kind of an arbitrary length. And I've stripped the ends off. And so I'm going to attach the red wire to the positive lead of the LED, which is the long lead. And it goes something like this. You just put the wire on there, and I like to cinch it down with the pliers just to keep it from moving around very much. And get the soldering iron, and we'll touch it with a bit of solder. Alright. And so now we have the red wire attached to the long lead of the LED. Now I attach the wire so it comes off at a 90-degree angle to the LED facing down with the leads, and you'll see why I do that when we assemble the leads into the tubing. So now we can just cut off the excess of the positive lead, and the red wire is done. And now just repeat this 40 times with both the 25 of the 90-degree LEDs that you ground off, and then another 15 of the 45-degree LEDs, 40 total, and then this step is finished. Now that we've got all of our LEDs cut and soldered, now we work on the next piece, which is made out of this tubing. And this is 3/32 tubing that you can get in any hardware store, or Ace, True Value, Home Depot, they all have it. 3/32. This is aluminum. I have some brass strips here too. That we're going to paint them, so it doesn't really matter what you use, just as long as it's conductive. And so I've made 2-inch marks on this piece, and so now we just cut it up, and it's really easy. You just chop them up. Now, after you're done chopping up the tubing into these 2-inch sections, the ends are going to be crushed a little bit, and for the wires to sit through, you're going to have to open them up. And so just take a Dremel. This Dremel has a 1/16 inch bit in there, which is the same as the inside diameter of the tube, and you just drill out the ends. And now the ends are opened up again, and then you can slide the wires through. So just repeat the drilling on the 40 sections of 2-inch tubing, and then we can start assembly. Some of the ends that have been cut might have a little bit may have some burrs around the edges, in which case you just take your Dremel and put the sanding disc on there and just turn them off. Clean them up. So now the holes are bored out, the edges have been cleaned up, and we're now ready to assemble. Now that we have the LEDs soldered and the tubes cut, now it's time to assemble our little lights. And we start by taking the LED, the lead that's remaining on the LED, just bend it down so now it's parallel with the red lead. So now you have the LED going this way and the wires coming down this way. And just grab one of your snazzy tube things. Look for the cleanest of the two edges, because having cut a bunch of these, I can assure you that one edge will be cleaner than the other. So grab that one. You want the clean edge towards the LED, and you just stick the red wire through there. And then when you get to the other end, make sure that the other lead of the LED goes inside the tube. All right. You'll have the LED sticking up about 1/8 of an inch out of the tube, and you'll bend the LED back and then forward. Because what you want to have you want to have this look of the LED kind of centered over the top of the post. Makes it look a little bit more like a real stage light that way. All right. So after you get the red wire in, now I have cut 40 of these white wires, where the top 1.5 inches, 2 inches have now been stripped. So this is all just wire. This top, 1 3/4. So just kink this wire a couple times with your fingernail, so that it'll get a good contact inside the tube. Push it up the bottom of the tube, like that. So now you have the red and the white wire coming out of the tube, and now just twist them together so that it'll hold the white wire in there. Right? And so now you're done. You've got the LED on the post with the wires going in, and you just test it to make sure that it works. I've got some test leads from a power supply here, and see, the LED works fine. So we're done with assembling this LED. So now you just repeat this process another 39 times, and you have your tree lights all assembled. Now we're going to paint the newly assembled lights, and this is a good time to check the alignment of the top to make sure it's got the right angle. I just leave them tilted up slightly at this stage. Here the idea is just to make all the visible parts this hedge green color out of the paint kit. The reason why I'm painting it is just to try to keep the lights as stealthy as possible. And I'm going to paint the outer ring, this outer ridge on the LED. It doesn't really matter if you get any paint on the side of the LED, just as long as you don't get any on the front where the light comes out. I put a lot of paint on the top just to make sure it gets it stays nice and covered, and no light leaks out. And then once you're done with the top, then you just paint the shaft of the tubing. You only need to paint about the top 2/3 or half of the tube, because that's all that's going to show. The rest of it will be down in the platform always. And you'll, because we're going to drill holes for them to sink into, you'll see that in a few minutes. You'll also find that the paint doesn't cover completely with the first coat. It will take 2 coats. That's just how it goes. Now on the LEDs where we've cut off that top, the front part, if you've done that to make them throw wider. Remember I said they were a little bit hazy when they were cut? Well, this is the step where you fix that. Just take some clear fingernail polish and just dab a little on the top, on the front, and that will make it transparent again. That's all it takes. And I learned this when I was splicing fiber optic cables years ago. So that's all there is to it. Just paint it, make sure it's nice and green, and repeat this step for all of your lights, and you'll be ready for the next step. Now we're ready to install the completed and painted lights into the roadway, and we're going to drill some holes. And I'll show you a video in a little bit about exactly where they go. But I'll do 2 of them here for you. You don't have to have them placed exactly, that's about halfway through. What you're going to find is that when you drill through this material, it'll clog the bit up. So you go in part way and then stop, come out. Further. Now I'm using a 5/16 inch drill bit. A standard drill bit will do the job. It's just barely long enough, but I have only about 1/8 of an inch in the chuck here, so you're going to use literally the entire length of the drill bit going through this thing. Let's do another one. Let's see, this one goes here. Alright, well that's literally all there is to it. And I'll show you where all the holes go, but you're just going to work your way around the platform drilling these holes. Now, you're going to see a couple of holes. In fact, I'll show you right now. Alright, to give you some idea of where we are, we're in the back side of the platform around the castle, and this is one of the corners. Now back here, there's, the tree kit itself covers the entire light green portion of this thing. So the only place we have to mount lights is literally right on the edge of this green lip. And so what I do is I usually go down into this about 1/4 of an inch, and then as soon as it gets good grip on the side, then I'll angle the cut in so we don't break the side of it out here, which I've done. Not on this table, but on others. And so go in a little ways and then angle in and then continue the rest of the way down so you don't break this edge out. But yeah, I think there's 4 holes that have to go right on this edge that you'll see when I show you all the locations. So just watch out for those holes. Those are kind of special. Otherwise, the holes just drill right in. But remember, you're going to use the full length of the drill bit, so be careful. And now that you have the hole drilled and you have your LEDs ready to go, it's real simple to install them. Just stick the wires down there, drop the LED down, and you'll notice that there's a little bit of play in the hole around the tubes. What I usually do is I'll go about halfway down the tube and just give it a little bend, and then push it down and it'll wedge itself in there really tight. And that's good. That's all there is to it. Keep doing that for all the LEDs, and then we're ready for the next step. And I know I still need to show you where they all go, but at least you know how to get them in there. Okay, well, we're back underneath the table again, and I've finished installing all of the tree lights in the table, and you can see there are little wires hanging down here now. There's a lot of them hanging down throughout the table, as you would expect. And I've also run some doorbell wire. This is just normal hardware doorbell wire, and I've run it from the front center of the table. This is right underneath the entrance. In fact, this is the train station right here. So I've run it starting here, and then I've drilled holes in the platform for the wires to come through, and I've run it all the way down the side, back around underneath the castle, and then all the way down the other side, and then back down the other side, also down to the castle. So we have wires running the full perimeter of the table, and they come together here. This is the west side set of wires, now it's the east side set of wires, and they come to this bundle. Now, so what is this? What are all these wires here? Well, it looks a lot more complicated than it really is. This is the C circuit lighting board. The Olszewski has provided you in the lighting kit 3 different circuits. There's an A, B, and a C circuit. This is the C circuit lighting board. And so to make this connection for the tree lighting, all you do is you just find the power connector, and the red and black wire is going to it, and somewhere between it and the lighting board, just splice in the 2 runs of the doorbell wire. So you're just going to have this circuit going right from the power input, splice into the doorbell, splice into the tree lights, and then go from there into the lighting board. And so it's pretty easy. Splice it, solder it, and then tape them up, and that's how we're going to power the tree lights. So now we're ready to connect our wires coming down from the lights up above and connect them to the doorbell wire, which we have running around the platform. I know this is kind of hard to see. Believe me, it's not any easier where I am because you're underneath the table. I'll do my best to show you how this works. The first thing we need to do is strip back some of the insulation on the doorbell wire so we can get that contacted. And you just take a pair of wire cutters. Don't cut all the way through the wire. Just nick it so you can pull the insulation back. Do that on the red and the white. I do it about 2 inches apart, so they don't have to worry about them shorting out together. All right, pull the insulation back with your fingernails, so that you have about 3/8 of an inch, half an inch showing of the copper. All right, now that you have that done, now in this case I'm going to do 3 of these at a time, just because it's faster. So grab the 3 white wires you want to do. So I'm going to grab them here, 1, 2, 3. Oops, make sure they're all white. And just tie the white wires together. Just loop them together. And then once you have the 3 white wires together, put them around the doorbell wire, white wire. Doesn't have to be clean yet, because we're doing this in a kind of a temporary fashion for right now, because we're going to be playing with the lights later. And so for now, we're just going to try to get a kind of a basic connection done. So now we got the white wires connected to the white on the doorbell wire. Now we got the 3 reds. Now the 3 reds have to be connected through resistors. You need the ballast resistors because the LEDs, if you just hooked them right to the 5 volts of the C power supply, it would fry. So we use these little resistors. I'm starting the process off with 640 ohm resistors. These little 8th watt guys, really nice little resistors, bought them from DigiKey. Now what you do is you take the 3 resistors, and there we are, and just twist one side of them together. And that side's going to go, I know you can't see it very well. Now that's going to go, the ones that are twisted together are going to go around the red wire on the doorbell wire. So now the other 3 leads of the resistors, let me fan them out here. The other 3 leads are going to go to the 3 red wires kind of hanging down here. So we'll just wrap those together one at a time. So we got this red one and this resistor going together. That's one. So we got this red wire and this resistor going together. You can do these separately if you want. I just do them together because it's a little quicker. Yeah, at least when there's not a camera in your face, it's a little quicker. All right, and finally the last wire and the last resistor. So we'll wrap those together. All right. I'm just putting these on by hand, by just finger tight now, and not soldered yet because we might change them. We might change some of the resistors later when we look at them. So now we take the other side of the resistor, that one that was already tied together, and we wrap that around the red wire. Yeah, I know you really can't see very well with my hand on the way there. All right. And so now we have the three resistors, with one side of the resistor going to each of the wires coming down from the LEDs, and then the other side of the resistor going to the doorbell wire. So that's all pretty straightforward. White's connected, reds are connected. So now if we power up that C power supply, we should see those LEDs on. I'm sure they do. Come on. This is a fairly reliable process. So now what you're going to do is you're going to work your way through the entire table, LED by LED, either in 2s or 3s or whatever, and attach that 640 ohm resistor to each LED, and just work your way around. And when that's all done, I'll be right back. Now that we're happy with the LEDs placements and we like the resistor values and they all work, now we know we can solder all the connections in place. And so I'm going to just solder these guys up and tape them, and then we'll be done under here, at least with the electrical part of this job. Solder. A little bit more solder. You have to be a little careful not to get the resistors too hot. Let that cool off for a second. Especially this connection here, because this is a really hot connection. Alright. They're all soldered. I'm going to cut off the excess on the ends here. Makes the taping a little bit easier. Yeah, you really don't have to tape these. It's not like they're going to short out against anything, but I just like to tape them just to keep everything tidy under here. And here I'm just wrapping the tape around the resistors and the extra lead. And then I'm going to tuck the next resistor up and wrap it around. I'm going to bend all that over and then wrap it around here. It doesn't have to be pretty, nobody's going to see this. There we go. There's that. And now I'll put just a little tape around the white wires. And that's all there is to it. Just got to work your way around the platform now and tape up all these wires. And one more step under here, which I'll come to in a second. And so enjoy your soldering. I'll see you in a second. Alright, so now that we've got the tree, they get the lights installed, we like where they're located, we like their power levels, we've got the resistors all soldered in. Now it's time for perhaps the most important step of the process, I think, and that is dealing with the stray light from the LEDs. You notice that in addition to throwing light on the trees that they're supposed to do, they also throw an enormous amount of light around the sides and out of the LED where you don't want the light. And And the tree lights can be kind of blinding if you don't do something about that stray light. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a little hat on the lights. And we do that just by taking a piece of 3/32 heat shrink tubing, and we're just going to cut it off at an angle. So I'll show you. So we're just going to take a pair of scissors and cut it off at a 45-degree angle. Something like this. Alright, so that you end up with a little piece of tubing that will go on the LED like so. So you see it's now blocked all the stray light from coming out of the LED, and it's now focusing light on the trees where we want it. Just this one step of putting this little shield, this little hat on the LEDs, makes them look about 1,000 times better, because now the light is all shining on the trees and not in your eyes as you look at them. If you look at stage lights also have similar devices to keep the light on the object that you're trying to illuminate and out of your eyes. So that's the hats, and there's one last thing to do, and then we're pretty much done with the tree lights. Yeah, this is the last step for the tree lights, and you'll notice as you go around your platform that there's going to be some areas where the light stands themselves are kind of wiggly and don't want to stay put. In those cases, we're just going to take a little glob of our 2-part epoxy, and we're just going to dab it around the bottom of the post to hold it in place, and that will stop the wiggliness. So just kind of feel around your way around the platform and find those places that feel kind of wiggly, and drop a little epoxy in there. You may want to make sure that the light is right where you want it, because after you epoxy it, you're not going to be able to move that stand. Although the LED on top will still be adjustable, you can still twist it around, but the tube itself will be pretty much stuck in place once you epoxy them. So now I'm going to show you where the lights are placed to light up the trees, and I've installed about 30 LEDs on the table. I know I had you make 40. That gave you several extra to deal with spares and also to experiment with other placing if you want. Now I'm going to point out where the LEDs are and what they're lighting up. And if I don't say what an LED is, it's one of the 45-degree LEDs. So most of them are 90s, as you know, but there are quite a few 45s, and I'll point them out. All right. So let's get started now. Just as a point of reference, I'm starting from the train station, working my way clockwise around the table. And okay, here we go. First is this LED here, right next to these trees, and that is looking back this way, and it's illuminating the back of these trees and a little bit inside this area here. That's the first one. Second tree, the second light, oh, and that's a 45, by the way, that's a 45 degree. In fact, generally you'll see that when the LED is back a ways from the trees that's lighting up, like this one, that those will tend to be 45s because the light has farther to go, and the narrower beam gives it more intensity. So that's a 45. In the front, lighting up the front of the trees, is this LED. And you notice I have it standing up quite a ways. That's so that the light can get over the top of the newsstand when it's in here. So there's that one. I'll move around over here. Now illuminating the inside of these trees and this whole area in the front straightaway of the train track is this LED. That's a 90, of course. And it's sitting down. You can see we're sitting down. It's sitting down between the edge of the hedgerow and the grade of the track. Now all of the LEDs that are near the train track are installed like that. That's a 90, of course. Here's the next LED, which is in the corner of that group of trees, and it's illuminating this set of trees here, which is behind City Hall. Then there's this LED here, which is illuminating the inside area of these trees. That's pretty obvious. Alright, now traveling down the west side of Main Street, we're into this clump of trees, which is behind Carnation. There are two LEDs lighting up the outside of the trees, one on each side of the tree, so you can see where the edge of the tree pack is. That's where one light goes there. Same on this side, right at the edge of the tree pack. That's where the other LED goes. Those are both 45s because they have a lot of trees to light up. Those are 45s. Now on the inside of those trees are three 90-degree LEDs that are you can see how they're aimed. They're flooding this whole group of trees here, that's how they look from the other side, like that. Forgive me, I'm using the camera upside down, so. Alright. And now as we go down the west-hand side, right now we're behind the area which will be the Frontierland piece. And this LED is going to light up the back of the trees in Frontierland, because otherwise they're quite dark. So that's what that LED does. And we're back about 18 inches from the far edge of the platform back to this LED is about 18 inches. All right. Now in this back corner, this would be the corner to the west of the castle. There's one LED. Oh, I'm sorry. That's also a 45. That went 18 inches over. Now we have this light here in this corner, which is going to illuminate the inside of the trees, and it will also illuminate the trees behind the Carnation area here, and it's right in the corner of this green spot here. It's right in the very far corner of that. So that's also 45, like I said. And then we have some 90-degree LEDs that are tucked away in this on the back side of this tree area. That now those LEDs you can't see very well, but those tubes have to go into the very edge of the hedge row here, because there's no other place to put them, and you have to be very careful when you drill those, so that you don't split the casting here. But that's the only place you can put an LED to light up the back side of the trees. So, and then you have the same for the we're on the north side of that same tree group. This is facing south towards, you see the station down there. Castle is going to be right there. So you have another LED just hooked up in there. Now you'll see where to place those. I just try to place the LEDs in an open spot in the tree area so that it lights up as much as possible. Alright, working our way around, we now have the LEDs that are going to illuminate the castle. These two LEDs do a lot of work. That they both illuminate the train track, so the train is illuminated as it goes through here, and they're also going to, this one lights up the inside of these trees some more, and this one will shine some more light on the far side trees. And they also will spill light over to light up the back of the castle. The back of the castle is actually quite dark, and those LEDs are going to provide a little bit of extra illumination for the back of the castle. And so now we're going to go to the clump of trees which are now to the east of Castle, and here we have again, an LED tucked into this little space of the trees here to light them up. And again, this LED is also right to the edge of the hedge. Oh, I should have mentioned on the tree. Let me go back. I wanted to mention on these two LEDs that are behind the castle. Those are both 45s. I think it's kind of obvious why those are 45s, because they have quite a distance to go. All right, so now we're that's where the castle would be. So now we're going to go over to the far end of the trees here and show you that there's another little LED stuck in, illuminating this would be the east side of that clump of trees, and is in symmetry with the other side. There's an LED here, which is a 45, and that is going to light up the inside of this tree group, and also it'll light up the back side of the trees that are behind Snow White and that whole grotto area behind Triton's. Now there isn't any extra light here, which is going to be where the Astro Orbiter goes, because the Moonliner is actually going to throw quite a bit of light when it's installed, and so we don't need any more light in this area. And besides, the Orbiter is actually quite bright too. So we'll go to this clump of trees to the east of Main Street. Here you'll see that we have 3 lights on the outside and 3 on the inside. Let's see if I can get back far enough here. These all 3 on this side are all 45s. This one here lights up this group of trees, obviously. This one here, and these are both placed kind of on either sides of this gap here. You can see that. That one's going to light up this set of trees, and then this one here, which is located right across from this gap in the trees here, is going to light up these trees and to some degree the trees over here. And so with those 3 outside trees, you get more than enough. Those 3 outside LEDs, you get more than enough light to light up the train track and the trees, of course. And then on the inside, you've got 3 LEDs, just like we had on the other side, and those are located to light up the back side of the trees. Yeah, so, and you can see how that would work. All right. The only thing tricky about these 3 trees is with these 3 LEDs is that when you install this one here on the edge near the Plaza Inn, just make sure that you don't collide with the actual Plaza Inn piece. So you need to put it right to the inside, right, so that this is a clear line here and it's tucked in right on this edge here. So, all right, so almost done. And of course all 3 inside lights are all 90s. So now we have the trees behind the Lincolns and the Opera House, and the Opera House butts right up against here and it blocks out all this anyway, so there really isn't much sense in doing too much work with the lights. I just put 2 on either side, one right here on the corner, and that's just tucked in, it's kind of hard to see, but that's just tucked in right on the inside of the sidewalk. There we go. You can see it better this way. So there's the sidewalk area. It's just tucked right in the corner, the sidewalk area, and it's elevated up as high as it can go, so that it'll get over the top of the City Hall building. I'm sorry, of the Opera House, and get as much light into the trees as we can get. And then, of course, there's the light on the other side, which I placed in this little indentation here. You can see it. You just drill a hole in there and drop a LED in, and then that'll illuminate all of this side of the trees over here. All right, just a couple more. Oh, those are all 90s. You have an LED here on this corner, right next to this clump of trees, which are, well, you can see where they are. And that's a 45, and that's pointing at this set of trees here to illuminate them. So that's what that guy does. I have a lamp on behind me, that's why it looks lighter than it would under the normal tree lighting. Okay, just 2 more. And then just like we had for the other side, there's a LED tucked in right at the edge of the track here in the corner, and it illuminates inside the tree area here. And last but not least, we have an LED located kind of in the middle of this green space here that's shooting back down the track this way and illuminates the trees up in this area. Alright, well, hopefully that gives you an idea of where you can place them. You know, you can play around with the placement, you know, you can experiment, or you can just drill holes and drop them in right where I did. That may be the safest bet. But I will say that it does illuminate the trees pretty well. Let me turn the lights off here. Unfortunately, the video camera is not going to really do it justice, but the tree lighting really does add a nice subtle light to the trees in a space which otherwise looks dead and black without the lights. So there you have it. And I think that is going to wrap up my video section on tree lighting. Hope you enjoyed it. So here's a bit of an epilogue to the tree lighting section. When I was done with the tree lights and I'd used them for a while and watched them alongside of Main Street, I decided that they were still a little bit too bright with those 640 ohm resistors in there. So I dimmed all of the lights by making this simple change. I just took we're underneath the table where the tree lighting wires leave the C power supply. And I just took the two white wires, one that goes that way and the other one that goes that way, and cut them, and then put this resistor in series with all of the lights, And this is a 100 ohm resistor. I ended up putting that one in series with the circuit, and it's actually not a bad trick to use to do a final adjustment of the lights once you've got them all installed. And but with this 100 ohm resistor in there, that dimmed them down to I think the right level to make it all look right. But that's something you're going to have to think about when you put your lights in, to say, you know, how bright do I want them really, and then you can put a resistor in here to make them brighter or dimmer. Virtually no current goes through this thing. I think I measured it something like a hundredth of an amp, so you can use a pretty small value resistor. But so anyway, just wanted to mention that in case you want to do some fine tuning of your lights once you get them in, because that's what I did. And with that, we really are at the end of the tree lighting section.